Hello everyone and welcome back to another video. Today's project is going to be a 1970s mid-century teak table, so let's jump straight into this one and get to work. So the first thing that I usually do is wipe everything down, and I did do that but I forgot to record it. But after that I go in with 220 grit sandpaper and I start sanding everything down. This top finish was very thin and worn out, so it's coming off super easy. So rather than going from 150 to 220, I just start with 220, so that way I get my finish grit and I get to work. Once the top is nice and smooth, I remove it so that way I can set it to the side, move the table, and I'm going to set up a collapsible table because I'm going to flip it upside down so that way I can get the lower like 1 to 2 inch underneath, because I'm going to refinish that section as well. For this particular table, they're using, it looks like a 1-inch bullnose piece of teak all the way around to finish off the edge rather than just let the solid piece flow over. I'm not exactly sure why they do this. I want to say it's for strength and also to keep it from twisting and bowing over time. So to get those rounded over edges, I'm using my surf prep sander. I don't typically use this too much because I'm usually sanding flat surfaces, but when it does come time to sand these rounded over edges or anything with a lot of detail, I like to get my 2x4, or I believe it's a 3x4 surf prep sander with the sponge attachment to it, and that makes quick work of all of these rounded edges. If anyone is interested in any of the products that Surf Prep offers, I do have a 10% discount code in the description box in the video. It's a cool way to get some pretty cool discounts off of this stuff. It can be a little pricey, but if you do this stuff, it is super helpful to have the tools at hand to help you get the job done a lot faster and a lot easier. Now that I'm done with all the rounded edges on the top, I move on to the leaves, and let me tell you, because the leaves don't see a lot of usage, the protection of the top coat is really good. So it takes a lot of sanding to get these things down to bare wood, and I didn't film a lot of sanding because it can get very boring and repetitive, so I skipped past it. But let me tell you, it does take quite a while. Once I finally finish sanding all the tops down, I move on to the stretchers and the legs, and thankfully a lot of higher end furniture seems to break down into a lot of separate pieces, allowing you to refinish a lot easier. Taking the legs off allows me to sand those stretchers down to bare wood without getting in the way of those legs. It's actually quite crazy to me to see that they're only held on by one bolt, but because of the construction and the way that it is, it really locks in and holds everything down nice and tight. I like to put any bolts and screws back to where I got them from originally because it just makes putting the project back together much easier, and it prevents me from misplacing or losing things, as sometimes I'll take things apart and I won't get back to them for a while and I tend to misplace them. So this is a good way to kind of keep from doing that. Typically for my finishes I would use a water-based polyurethane, but in this case the customer, they wanted to have something that was more natural feeling to the hand, and some of the best stuff that I found for that is a natural colored Danish oil. I really wanted to stick with the really natural color of the teak, so I didn't choose any kind of Danish oil that had pigment to it or any kind of stain built in, and I just love the color of teak. It is super vibrant and very rich. And the cool thing about using Danish oil opposed to a polyurethane is that if it ever gets dried out or it looks like it's starting to fade, you could just throw another coat on there and it looks just like new. Didn't really record a lot of footage of me rubbing the Danish oil on and then just wiping it off because it's pretty self-explanatory. I didn't want to bore everybody with it, so basically you wipe it on, you let it soak in for a little bit, like 10-15 minutes. You wipe it off, buff it out, and then you repeat the process typically 2 times. So I'm going to put the legs back onto the stretchers so that way I can put the table back upright and I can start putting the leaves and all the tabletop back together. I opted not to use Danish oil on the bottom only because I just felt like it was a waste of product because I'm not really using it on a finished surface. So I'm using some Howard's Feed-In wax to condition all of the wood underneath, all of the rails and tracks, just so everything slides nice and smooth and it looks nice and fresh. Now that I'm nearing the end of this restoration, all I really have to do is use that wax to wax everything up, reassemble everything, and put it back together. This project was pretty straightforward. There was no real major damage or anything like that. There was no finishing touch-ups that I had to do aside from just sand it down, refinish it, and put it all back together. So this is a shorter video than I'm used to posting because there really wasn't much to the project other than sand it down, refinish it, and put it back together. I'm not going to talk numbers on this one because I did refinish this one for a buddy of mine, but I hope everyone enjoyed the video, and if you have any kind of suggestions or any kind of critiques, please let me know what those are, and I'll see you in the next video.